Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And boy, do we have a tale to tell. This is another one in the ongoing drama over Leslie Roberts and her defence of the people of Scotland against a regime that seems to have done so much evil. And now there's been another massive update in that police are now looking directly at the deleted COVID WhatsApps of Nicola Sturgeon, not as part of the COVID inquiry, but part of their investigation into the corporate homicides that may have taken place as a result of policy decided by Freeman and by, of course, Nicola Sturgeon herself. It is a stunning bit of news. It's out of the blue. I did get a heads up about it the other day from Leslie, a bit of a heads up. She didn't tell me too much, I've got to be honest. She's kept that one very close to her chest. But I knew something was coming, and it was like, don't say nothing but. So the news is now broken, and we're here. Now, as I say, I'm hoping to get Leslie on a Zoom later, whether it be today, tomorrow. Probably won't be tomorrow because I've got a guest coming. First time ever, I'm going to have a guest sitting this side, next to me here tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that. I will give a heads up later. But we will try and get a Zoom call set up with Leslie about what's the current state of affairs. But let's go in, let's have a look, let's see what's going on right now. Here goes. So, Police Scotland detectives looking into Nicola Sturgeon's deleted COVID WhatsApps. And as I say, this isn't part of the COVID inquiry, this is part of the different inquiry as started by Leslie Roberts, for whom I think every Scot needs to give great praise. This woman has worked tirelessly. She has lost everything. She is, I think, lost within herself. I genuinely mean this, and I speak to Leslie all the time. This woman has dedicated everything for this pursuit, and it is a stunning example of what can be done when you have someone dedicated, caring, someone who is passionate about what they do. And I think even SNP supporters, even the ones who think the SNP can do no wrong, need to pay attention, need to see that this is exactly what's happened. And if this is true, if there is any truth in this, which I believe there certainly is, then think of how you have been lied to as an SNP supporter. Think about what's happened to you, what she has done to you, and you still gave her support. I think it's time you started questioning the support of a woman who may well have killed people you know. Seriously, think. Anyway, former nurse Leslie Roberts says the deletion of messages and industrial scale lying was in breach of the Inquiries Act 2005, another law breached. And her signed statement has now been accepted into evidence by officers. Once more evidence all the time, more and more and more. Sturgeon cannot hide forever. An NHS whistleblower has submitted a statement to the Police Scotland regarding the industrial scale lying exposed by the UK COVID-19 inquiry. It includes the deletion of WhatsApp messages and other correspondence, and the failure to keep minutes of the so-called Gold Command meetings. Now, we covered them during the COVID inquiry story, and that they had these secret meetings to not everybody was invited to. People who should perhaps have been invited to, but were seen as being risky, such as Kate Forbes, were not invited to them because they felt that her sort of latent honesty would be a threat. There were no minutes kept, which is against sort of operational procedure. There were no recordings. Nobody talked about anything. It was all secret. Code words. Final solution. Relocation to the east. That sort of thing. Officers from the Unresolved Homicide Investigation Team, who are looking into thousands of pandemic deaths in care homes and other public settings, have now added the statement to the massive evidence already gathered as part of the sprawling Operation Copa inquiry, which falls under the remit of the Crown Office. It's now been 12 months since healthcare campaigners Leslie Roberts, Roger Livermore and Rab Wilson made corporate manslaughter allegations against Nicola Sturgeon and Gene Freeman due to government negligence. Now, I will have Roger joining me tomorrow. We're going to have a very quick conversation. It's not a big in-depth thing. He happens to be coming down. We're going to meet. We're going to talk. We're going to go off, grab something to eat, maybe a pint, and just talk about the things. But I am going to sit him in the chair. I keep doing it the wrong way. The chair next to me here. We'll just do a quick sort of 5-minute thing. So keep an eye out for that. I don't know what time it will be going out. There's obviously the edits and things, but I hope to get that done tomorrow. And we'll certainly talk about this story with Roger. Anyway, although frustrated at the slow pace of investigation, well, there's a lot to investigate. The police are going to every single care home in Scotland, so it's going to take time, I'm afraid. But Miss Roberts said that individual detectives have been taking their complaints very seriously. She's now signed off an addition to her original statement, which takes in many of the revelations raised during the inquiry hearings in Edinburgh in late January. And boy, did we have fun at that point, didn't we? There was a lot of stuff going on there. That didn't last a lot. Basically launched 1,000 videos. Miss Sturgeon has already been reported to the Met Police for an alleged breach of the UK inquiry law, while the Scottish Information Commissioner is looking into the deletion of records. In her statement, Miss Roberts says, "In relation to the WhatsApp messages and other correspondence, I am genuinely appalled that those in senior roles were deleting messages and correspondence in their quest to evade freedom of information requests. I also believe that there is a potential that this is contravening the laws surrounding the Public Inquiry Act 2005, and these actions were done intentionally in a deliberate effort to prevent the disclosure of essential information to the COVID-19 inquiry and to the public." And I think Leslie is absolutely correct. I think anyone who watched this, anyone with the merest iota of intelligence could see what was going on. They could see the misdirection, the failure to answer fully. Sometimes just the failure to answer at all. Sometimes you could tell they were outright lies, but nobody could prove that they were outright lies. But you could feel it in your very essence, couldn't you? Anyway, she adds that the 2005 Inquiries Act must supersede any Scottish Government policy. Of course, because laws sit above policy. You can have whatever policy you like, but if that policy breaches the law, then that policy is illegal and you're still accountable. It was being used as a tool to rid themselves of whatever was on those messages. Now, if they said, "Oh, well, this is our policy," doesn't matter. If the policy is there and it breaches the law, then the law is broken. You pay the consequences. You must be accountable. Miss Roberts, who was an infection control link nurse with NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde at the start of the pandemic, also refers to Gold Command meetings involving Miss Sturgeon and other senior figures. Their existence only emerged during the inquiry hearings. She said, "I believe that when you consider the fact that senior members of the Gold Group can't produce any minutes for meetings, it must illustrate serious secrecy and cover-ups. Given the time of those meetings and what was going on around us at this time, it is unthinkable to think that those in charge of making serious decisions that ultimately would affect whether the population were to live or die is seriously unthinkable." And there's no way they could remember all this information. They had to have written it down. They must have had minutes. They must have had records. And if they've subsequently destroyed them, you have to ask why. What was on them that was so damaging to these people that they had to destroy the evidence? She said, "I believe the government and those supporting the government knew exactly what they were doing, and the message was deleted intentionally to prevent the inquiry, the public, and potentially a criminal investigation being able to scrutinise them. Given the terms of the Inquiries Act 2005, my apologies, they should be seen to be illegal, and therefore they should be investigated by the police and the Crown." Quite right. Speaking to the Scottish Daily Express, Miss Roberts, who's also a trade union health and safety rep in the UK's largest health board, said she's now submitted more than 60 productions and more than 100 emails in support of her extended statement. She said, "I'm pleased that they're looking at this. Hopefully something will come of it. The detectives have been extremely helpful, but they've told me they are collating all the evidence, which will then be looked at on the national level. It doesn't all fit within Operation Copa, which is about the deaths in care homes, so I don't know if at some stage they will try and separate it out. This is the trouble. There's actually so much evidence. The police are somewhat overwhelmed. They've never had this much evidence of a crime before, and it is half the job is them trying to sift it to say, well, this evidence relates to this crime, this evidence relates to this crime, this evidence could relate to both crimes, but we'll keep it over here, then we can use it on either crime, and so forth. It's that widespread. There's so much of it. Anyway, she said, it's now been a year since Roger, Rab and myself turned up at Cowcaddens police station, and my concern is that they will close it down after I spent 3 years putting all this together. Our Scottish Government spokesman said the Scottish Government's sole focus and intention was to protect the people of Scotland from the harms of COVID-19. And if you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. And then they're just talking. We're not going to listen to the Scottish Government because we know they're filled with liars. But there they are. The heroes of the day. Rab there on the left, Leslie in the middle, and Roger on the right. And as I say, Roger will be joining me tomorrow for a quick video, quick Q&A, and I'll certainly, as I say, be mentioning this particular thing with our discussions, as well as a couple of other things. So you won't want to miss it. Set your alarm, folks. You don't need to set your alarm. Just come on and watch it. But do hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Anyway, I'll round that off. I'll come up and we'll finish the video. Now, I personally cannot begin to tell you how much I admire and love and like Leslie for everything she's done. And for every ounce of my being that thinks she's marvellous, my same ounces loathe Sturgeon. I, for one, hope that what these people have done is enough to have Sturgeon arrested, tried and convicted, and then jailed, probably for the rest of her natural life, for what I consider to be a crime against humanity. You wouldn't have thought that this would be possible in a modern democratic society. But of course, once the COVID hit, democracy went out the window. It became a monolithic dictatorship ruled by an iron-fisted harridan, a woman with zero concerns, psychopathic, sociopathic, and with no concerns of the future. She only was concerned with her own glory. And there is a price, I think, to pay. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Rab. And thank you, of course, Roger. We'll round off there. Thank you very much for watching this. Do please, as I say, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss this ongoing story. And also, you want to meet and talk to Roger tomorrow. So until then, thank you very much. Do look after yourself, and we will carry on with the next video later. Till then, goodbye.